I'm trying to get to 204,000 subscribers. We need 239 more to do it. Some of you might be going, Mitch, why would I hit the subscribe button? Free daily Raiders videos every single day. And did I mention that it's free? Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's program, there's some NFL news that I believe Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders could learn from. I'm not sitting up here trying to teach Pete anything. Pete is obviously a very well-respected head coach, but I think somebody who is a professor always wants to teach the ability to learn and get better. And I think today, Pete Carroll has an opportunity to see what happened in the NFL and go, I can learn from it, and it's something that I hope that we apply going forward. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is a change that happened in the NFL. So at the very end of today's program, to me, I have 5 changes that the Las Vegas Raiders need to make before their Week 4 game against the Chicago Bears if they're actually trying to win, if they're actually trying to show commitment to excellence. If you didn't see the big NFL news today, I would say this is the number one story around the league. The New York Giants made a change at the quarterback position. They are starting Jaxson, and they decided to bench Russell Wilson. Now, some of you might be going, well, how does that imply to us? We're not going to make a quarterback change. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying put in Kenny Pickett. Obviously, I'm not saying put in Nathan O'Connell. Gino is our guy. But to me, this is what this proves. The Giants switching quarterbacks is best for them now, and I think it's best for their future. If the Raiders were to put Jaxson Powers-Johnson at center, it would be best for the Raiders now and in the future. I also understand when people put together a plan. I mean, think about how many times this offseason I talked about plans. John Spytek's plan, Pete Carroll's plan, the Raiders' long-term plan. What I don't want to see the Raiders do is come up with this plan that they have. And clearly the plan was to have Jordan Meredith at center and play Jaxson Powers-Johnson at guard. My problem with that plan is it's a shit plan. And that plan we've already seen has been a major failure. So what I want to see these coaches do is learn from their mistakes, learn that their plan wasn't good, and be able to come up with a brand new plan, because that's what smart organizations, that's what smart businesses, that's what smart football teams end up doing. And Pete Carroll, he had this to say on September 22nd, and I'm a little bit nervous about it. We want to see Jaxson Powers-Johnson come back to action and get back involved in all phases of it. We got to get off the football better and make more of the running game. There's not enough happening there to act on the play, pass game, and we're just not getting enough. So we just got to keep working on it. We got the guys we got, and we need to keep developing and keep building on it. Pete also had this to say. We're working at the right guard spot in terms of Jaxson. Our young guys, they'll get their turn sometime, but they're not ready yet. So we have what we have, and we got to make our guys do better. We got to fit it together better than what we have. So, to me, I hear Pete Carroll saying that, and he's saying, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, those 2 guys aren't ready yet. Okay? To me, if Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers are literally worse than what we've putting out there on the field, that's obviously concerning to me. But also, I don't know why the Raiders are just so stuck and gung-ho on keeping JPJ at guard, because to me, I would look at last season. When the Raiders put JPJ at center, they were just clearly a better offensive line. All the advanced metrics show that from the moment JPJ took over at center, the Raiders were ranked 7th best in pass protection and then 16th in run block. I would give up my left nut to be able to have those numbers for this offensive line, because we'd actually be able to move the football. So when I heard Pete Carroll said that, I was like, all right, the good news here is Pete agrees that he wants to see him out there on the field. He wants to see him as a starter. But I'm also like, Pete, what drives me nuts sometimes that coaches say is they're like, oh, I want to see that happen. Well, then freaking do it. You're the head coach, and I get that you might not be the one controlling the offensive line, but your kid is, and he's clearly not doing a very good job at it. The bad news is the Raiders are so clearly not trying to put him at center, so much to the fact of I have been DMing, I have been messaging, I have been clawing, I am searching around. I think that there is a much bigger story to why the Raiders aren't playing JPJ at center, to why the Raiders are just so gung-ho on putting Alex Kappa in over Jaxson Powers-Johnson. I am determined, and I will find out that there is going to be a bigger story behind this, because I just don't believe that our coaching staff is this stubborn and this dumb not to put him at center. And if you like stats, I saw somebody earlier on the show was saying, oh, JPJ is not a good center. You want some numbers? Here you go. In 2024, when the Raiders ran behind Jordan Meredith at left guard, 4.42 yards per carry. This season, running behind Meredith at center, 2.17 yards per carry. Last season, running behind JPJ at center, 4.28 yards per carry. This season, running them behind a right guard. I get it was only one game, 3.75 yards. Like, we have the same pieces. It's not rocket science. To me, if it's not broken, you don't fix it. And if what you did try to fix ends up being broken, wouldn't you try to fix it to back to the way where it was actually working instead of just still trying to roll with your idea? I am concerned, and one of the reasons why I want the Raiders to learn from this is because right now it seems like an ego trip. Right now it seems like the Raiders are more concerned about being right, that Brendan, Carroll, and Pete are more concerned about being right than actually doing what is right. So I want to know from all of y'all, it's going to be the pinned comment here on today's program, and I'm going to give you my answer to why JPJ isn't starting at center. I have 3 areas that I think that this is it, but before I give you my answers, you're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and answer this, because what the heck? I think we're all wondering, why isn't JPJ starting at center? My 3 best guesses to why Jaxson Powers-Johnson isn't starting at center, it is a Brennan Carroll / coach's ego trip. They thought that they could put him at right guard. They thought Jordan Meredith would be better at center. And instead of being able to admit their faults, they're saying, no, I'm going to keep doing this until I am right, or I'm just going to be wrong. The staff, maybe that doesn't like Jaxson Powers-Johnson. I'll be honest. I got a text message today, or I should say an Instagram DM, that indicated that there was somebody that was told that JPJ and this coaching staff haven't been getting along for months. I got that message, and I have gone on now and even more of a deep dive. I'm not going to sit up here and say the source that told me that is a credible source. With all due respect, you know who you are, but I'm going to do a little bit more digging and homework to finding out. My other reason why is maybe these coaches just don't know the players well enough on the roster, which obviously is very, very concerning considering the fact that this has been something that they've been trying to figure out all the way back in May, all the way back in June, all the way back in July. And Pete mentioned a word about continuity. Why would you ruin the continuity that we had last season that clearly showed improvement with Joe Philbin just because your kid wants to come in and put his own stamp on it? Right now, the Brennan Carroll stamp looks a lot like a tramp stamp, and quite frankly, I'm trying to remove it. Coming up next here on the show, I got 5 changes that I want to see the Raiders make before the Bears game. Spoiler alert, you're already going to know one of them. That's about to happen here on this program. But I do want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Panda Sups. You see this QR code right here? If you want to hook up, if you're trying to get set up with my plug, use code Raiders, scan that QR code. You're going to be able to save 25% off at pandasups.com. I'll be honest, I don't know where that QR code leads, but I think it leads to some good stuff. Maybe it leads to some protein. Maybe it leads to a little bit of pre-workout. I'll tell you this, where I really need it to lead is some focus and some super nootropic. And I say that jokingly because, you know, we had a lot of people watching our Monday Night Football show yesterday, and, you know, shout out to I think we had close to 120,000 people with us yesterday on Monday Night Football, and I got a super chat from Bayou Raiders. Shout out to you, Bayou. I remember it, and you're like, hey, man, burnout is real. Believe me, I know burnout's real, but here's the thing. I got an engine, right? And I'm going to be that guy that's got that Max Crosby mentality where I'm always going to try to get 1% better. The Focus Nootropic kind of helps get my engine going, and it helps wake up my mind a little bit. And to me, when you're as busy as what I am, you got to find what works for you, and then you got to keep on rocking with it. Like the products that work really well for me, I love their protein. I love their BCAAs. I love their creatine. I've used their nootropic. My wife is obsessed with their greens, their superfoods, and she's obsessed with their fat burner. It's called a thermogenic. Bottom line, I want you to find what works best for you, because what works best for you might not work best for me. What tastes good to chugs, their protein, maybe you don't like it all that much. But I'm telling you this, I have met a lot of Raiders fans, and I bet if you look down in the live chat right now, I bet if you go down in the comment section, you'll see how many Raiders fans have gotten Panda Sups and truly, truly use it every single day. Coming up next here on the show, let's get into 5 changes that the Raiders need to make before the Bears game. Coming in here at number 1, and I've already illustrated all the reasons. I just wanted to be able to put it up here one more time in case my message hasn't been loud enough. JPJ needs to start. But not only does he need to start, he needs to start at center. I've been posting on Twitter. I've been posting on Instagram. Every time that I see the Raiders post anything, unless it's like, in regards to a player or in regards to, I don't know, if it's just a post, I'm basically putting fire Brennan Carroll, start JPJ at center. And if you see me doing it, keep liking it, keep retweeting. I think it's the only way our message is going to get across. Next thing that I want to see the Raiders do, get the ball out quicker. Because to me, Geno's hanging on to the ball too long, but he's hanging on to the ball too long because the plays Chip's developing are taking too long to develop. Our offensive line's not good enough to block. And I saw this stat from my guy Sanjit. And again, Sanjit to me is the best in the biz. If you're looking for offensive line breakdown, don't get me wrong. I want you guys to subscribe to me. I want you guys to support me. But I also think real recognize real. And Sanjit with offensive line, with everything going on right now with the O-line, I watch Sanjit all the time. And why? Because I'm trying to be a smarter Raider fan myself. And so I saw this stat from him that said the Raiders ranked first in average time to throw at 3.30 seconds. That actually surprised me a little bit. I think it also kind of shows how wonky NFL stats can be. So that tells me, Chip Kelly, you got to drive up some plays to get the ball out quicker. That tells me, Geno Smith, you need to be able to find receivers to get the ball out quicker. But then you also got this. The Raiders also rank first in most pressures under 3 seconds at 39. So, Geno's trying to buy time. Geno's trying to look for the open man. What I think needs to happen, and I said this yesterday, Brennan Carroll and Chip Kelly need to get on the same flipping page because they're clearly not on the same page. Let's get our offensive team in check. Let's get our offensive staff in check. I don't know what the hell we're doing during the week because the 2 games we've had a week to prepare, the Chargers and the Commanders, we have been absolute dog shit, and it can't happen anymore because I'm not falling to 1-3. Let's go to the next thing that I want to see the Raiders change. More snaps for Tyree Wilson. And I want to see more snaps for Tyree Wilson at defensive tackle. What I don't understand here is Wilson had a great offseason. He did. By every account, by every player that I talked to, by the agent that I talked to for Tyree, from talking to Tyree himself, from my eyeball seeing it out on the preseason field, I know Tyree Wilson is a good defensive tackle. He obviously struggles as a defensive end because he doesn't have, I think, that ability to get off the football. But I'm looking right now at how the Raiders are using him, and it's another fact of, does our coaching staff not know how to properly use Tyree Wilson? I'm not taking a shot at Rob Leonard because I think Rob Leonard is one of the best in the biz. I really, truly believe that. But he played a total of 74 snaps this season. That's 42%. If you look at his snaps by week, the game that he played the most in was week 1. Week 2, he played 14 snaps. Week 3, he played 22. I would say the game where I was the most proud of this Raiders football team was week 1 against the New England Patriots. And the way that they used him a little bit more as a defensive tackle. But when you look at his snap breakdown, when you look at his usage right now with the Raiders, they're using him as more as a defensive end than as a defensive tackle. That's just you not knowing your players. That's you not using your players correctly. And when I look at this staff right now, the amount of players that they are just not using in the correct way, it concerns me. So let's use Tyree Wilson as a defensive tackle because I actually think that would really help us lock in our run defense game. A run defense team that just gave up over 200 yards this past week to the Washington Commanders. The next thing that I want to see, and this one absolutely pains me, Malcolm Koonce has to play less because he is such a liability out there on the field right now. I'm not kidding you when I say this. He might be the worst defensive end we have on this roster. And when the Raiders signed him to that 1-year, $12 million deal, I was jumping for joy. And if anybody wants to hit me with, oh, Mitch, it's only been 3 games, you haven't been paying attention all offseason because there was no chatter, and I mean no chatter at all, around number 51, and it's probably because he wasn't 100% ready to rock. This season, he's played 81 snaps. That's 43%. He is the worst defensive end right now in the NFL, according to PFF, with a 37.7 grade. There's also certain qualifiers that you have to hit based on snaps, but right now there's 116 players that qualify for PFF grades. He is ranked 116. He only, in my book, you can only put him out there on the field anymore on 3rd down. You can only put him out there in absolute passing situations. The problem is, you kind of saw it this past week. He seems like a kid that just got a brand new toy, and he doesn't know exactly how to play with that toy. And when he goes out there on the field, he's reckless. He's just grabbing face masks. I want Malcolm to be better. But at the same time, I'm also man enough to be able to sit up here and go, the Raiders re-signing Malcolm Koonce looks like a disaster. And instead of being too much of a proud boy and saying, hey, we got to keep playing him over and over and over and over again, well, why don't we sit him down a little bit, figure out what's really happening? Because what's happening right now is you put him out on the field and teams are going at him. Why? Because he's just really flipping bad right now, and he has no ability to get to the quarterback. Let's go then to the final one here, and it's change Isaiah Pola-Mao's role. What I was really concerned about with the Raiders this offseason with Pola-Mao, and I said it probably 100 times, he's not a free safety. He's not. But you're playing him like a free safety. He is a box safety. He is a strong safety. And you're turning a player that showed tremendous growth his first few years in the NFL from being a UDFA. He was a player that got better and got better and got better. And his regression this season is so staggering, and it's just obvious. You're just not using him correctly. Right now, Isaiah Pola-Mao is the worst safety in the National Football League with a PFF grade of 29.9, 76 out of 76. He's getting absolutely torched in coverage, but it's because you, the coaches, aren't using him the correct way. It's because you, the coaches, decided not to go out and add a true free safety, and now you're asking a young player that got better and better and better and better to not do what he's really good at, and you're asking him to do something that he's not good at. Like, it kind of reminds me of a baseball team, and you got a number 7 hitter, you got an 8 hitter, you got a 9 hitter, and that 7, 8, 9 hitter's batting 300. And instead of you asking them to continue to bat for average and try to get on base, you're like, no, I want you to try to become a power hitter. We're going to put you up in the lineup at number 2, and from going from 300, now they're batting 200. Like, I love the player that Isaiah Pola-Mao is, and I actually feel bad the amount of times I've ripped on him this season because I know they're not using him correctly. They're just not. They are not using him correctly, and I am asking, I'm begging. Raider fans out there, I think, are begging. Can we start using him effectively? But the only way that we can use him, the way that we need to be able to use him, is if we get a true free safety. The problem is this coaching staff right now seems a little bit too stubborn to go out there and add a true free safety. For those of you that are watching this live, I'm going to talk about free agent targets today. For those of you that aren't watching this live, you're going to get Raiders free agent targets going out tomorrow on the Raiders Report, so make sure you're subscribed. But those are the 5 changes that I would make. Okay, and again, the reason why I did this video is because the Giants' plan was to let Jaxson Dart learn behind Russell Wilson. They crumbled up that plan, and they decided, let's do what's best for us now and in the future. To me, the Raiders need to learn from that and go, all right, I know that was the plan. The plan's not working. Let's deviate from it a little bit, and let's get a plan that gets us on track. So I want to know from you, what's one change the Raiders need to make? Just one change. If you want to put JPJ, I think that's the most obvious one. If you're going to put JPJ, I'm going to challenge you to give me another one. Give me another change, because I think 90% of the people here are going to put JPJ at starting center. Now, if you don't know my live schedule this week, I am going to be live Thursday Night Football, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. Then, week 4, we're actually going to go live an hour 25 before the start of this game, and we're doing that because our Bears channel is also going live at this time, and I was like, all right, let's battle, because these are 2 of the biggest channels we have at Chat Sports, and we're going to be battling on Sunday, 2 1-2 teams. Then on Monday, I'm going to be live at this time on the Raiders Report, and then for Monday Night Football down here at this time. Though there is a possibility that we go live at like 7:15 Eastern, which is technically 1 hour before Monday Night Football coverage. My bottom line is this, though. Raiders, win, lose, or tie, I'm always going to be here. I'm always going to rock with you. And I personally think there's a reason why we have gotten now more views than we ever have on our live shows. It's because Raider Nation knows the live program here at Chat Sports is the #1 place to be for any game day.